Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear May Kinnon. Happy birthday to you.
Hey, my friends, and welcome to another Fax Me Live. I am your host, Stephen Lancaster, and once again, thank you guys for hanging out with me, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it later on during a replay. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate your thoughts and comments and ongoing support because, as I'm constantly reminded, I am the little guy with the little platform that doesn't matter, apparently. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. We've got a lot to cover today, my friends, but I wanted to thank you for giving me a little leadway last Friday. We had a Special Olympics event for my grandson. I believe I told you all he's been fighting brain cancer for 10 years. This was a wheelchair race. You're seeing some of that up on the screen. And my grandson, Tanner, he took first place. He took the first place medal, which was really cool. It was exciting for us. You know, it's the little wins for him that make all the difference because he doesn't get to live that normal life. As you guys can see, my grandson Tanner, Team Tanner. Of course, I had to make it rocking. But thank you guys. I couldn't do a live Friday. I tried my best to be in and out on Facebook mostly and some videos on YouTube, but I appreciate you guys who watch this live on Facebook and who watch it live on YouTube. But we've got a stacked show today because a lot has happened, and in a way today's show is about the great debate that apparently is never going to happen, but there is a lot to cover. For those of you who are familiar with Laura Loomer, she needs no introduction. She is the arch nemesis of Candace Owens, and clearly a very intellectual challenge for Candace Owens. But what do you expect from somebody whose brain power is equivalent to that of a third grader? And I'm talking about Candace Owens. Laura Loomer's great. Candace wishes she could be the investigator that Laura is. And I tell you what, we're going to show some of the damning things that Laura exposed over the past couple days, considering Candace Owens, and some of these are illegal. Yes, folks, we are getting closer and closer to seeing Candace Owens and her world just completely deteriorate. Also on the plate today, I got really excited about this for one reason and one reason only. I now know for a fact Candace Owens knows who I am. So I know she's watching my material. I know she is seeing all of her lies being disproven, but she finally addressed my response to her debate request. And we're going to talk about that today. She directly attacked me. Nothing bad, but it was a facetious tweet just before midnight last night. However, like Candace is known to do, now the tweet is gone. So what's a Fax Me boy to do? Well, I went straight to Elon's fact check called Grok to prove Candace had posted it. Because Grok knows everything on X. It knows what happens. It will explain it all to you. That's right. And as you can expect, I have proof that Candace Owens responded to me and then removed it. But today is all about Candace, her lies, what Laura Loomer exposed, and just how well can Candace debate? That's the question for today. She talks a big game. She openly invites people to come and debate with her. She never does it. But you have to ask yourself, how often have you ever seen her debate? Really? How often? Today I'm going to sit through a debate of hers, and I'm going to offer up a little critique. And, you guys leave your thoughts in the comments as this goes along. But let's get to it. I want to start with this Laura Loomer stuff. Okay, so I'm pulling up everything here. Laura has exposed some major things that Candace Owens is doing illegally. Okay, now she started with some tweets on her X profile, and I'm bringing those up for you guys to see on the screen now. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. You can read it if you want to on the screen. But essentially, Laura says Candace Owens LLC changed its corporate officers while in the middle of an active defamation litigation from the Macrones. We know this in Delaware Superior Court. She made corporate officer changes in the middle of a lawsuit. Okay. Now what that means is she is attempting to shield assets so she doesn't lose everything. And this is highly frowned upon by the courts. This is highly frowned upon legally. This is a bad look. This is committing fraud because Candace Owens LLC is directly named as the defendant in the lawsuit. So this is fraud. And Laura has exposed that Candace has been hiding at least $12 million in luxury real estate called the Battery Lane Trust. This is in Nashville, Tennessee. Battery Lane Trust. That's something you're going to start hearing a lot more about. So now you know, when you hear Battery Lane Trust, this has to do with the fraud that Candace Owens is committing to try to hide her assets for when she loses this lawsuit, which she will lose with the Macrons. And of course, Laura always brings receipts as good factivists do. And I'm looking because I've got two screens here. I'm trying to see what I'm showing you. You can see where she changed the officers right here on this legal document. And that is the beauty of legal documents, is they're publicly accessible. So when Candace tries to lie, like you guys saw in a few of my lives last week, I show the actual court documents, right? So what are you going to do? But here's another screenshot that I found interesting of one of the documents. Let me pull that one up on the screen for you guys as well. This, you can actually see this property that Laura's talking about. It is worth $2.5 million, and they're trying to hide it. Okay. Now, basically, these properties, her house, her basement where she broadcasts from, where she supposedly lives, and then this location is just right down the block, man. It's right down the street. A $2.5 million property that allegedly that is where her boy toy gay Georgie lives. So essentially they're living separately, and Georgie does his little entertaining of his little freak shows there. But that's all alleged. I can't get into that. I'm not going to get into the drama stuff unless there's proof to back that up. But if you look this up, by law, you cannot legally hide assets to evade a defamation lawsuit. Concealing assets once a lawsuit is threatened or filed is considered fraud. So Candace Owens potentially is going to see some charges for committing fraud. So we'll see how that plays out, and we'll go from there. But I think that's really interesting because Laura, she is a force to be reckoned with, and now she is showing beyond a shadow of a doubt that Candace and George are committing fraud because they know they're going to lose this Macron case. And see, what's going to happen is they're going to lose that Macron case, lose everything. Then Tyler Robinson's going to be convicted, and that's when Turning Point USA, 7 individuals that I know of from that organization, including Erica Kirk, are each filing their own suits against Candace Owens. So Candace is toast, guys. And that's not counting the fact that with the Macron case, she has two different trials. One here in the United States and one in France. And the one in France is in May. And she has flat out said she's not going to go. So what's going to happen is whatever is ruled in France, then it is up to their government to contact our government about how to handle this legally with Candace. So it's going to get messy. It's going to become an international thing, but we will cover more of that when we get to it. But I want to talk about Candace Owens and her open invitation to debate. Okay. You guys know, if you've been following me on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok, you guys know that I have been attempting to debate her since she invited. This was an open invitation. I have emailed her. I have commented on her videos. I have tweeted her. I have tagged her. I have made my own videos. Okay. In fact, the very first video I made was way back in December, and I'm going to play that for you. I actually offered to pay her because we know Candace is all about money. She can be bought. She's one of the biggest cyber sluts you'll ever meet. You guys hear me use that term a lot, cyber sluts. My band, we wrote a song called Cyber Sluts Incorporated, heavy metal. If you don't like metal, you won't like it. But it pokes fun and addresses the issues with OnlyFans and these women that have to sell their bodies, make sure they're showing you that cleavage so you click on their video. These are the cyber sluts to me. All the people, and even guys can be cyber sluts. If you're grifting, you are a cyber slut. You know, I had one of you guys comment a few weeks ago that you wanted to share my video, but because at the end of the video, it was showing clips from the Cyber Sluts music video from my band. And I had to address that, you know, and say that it's not showing this stuff to be sexual. It's not showing this stuff. I'm actually doing the opposite. This is poking fun at the cyber sluts, these women who have nothing and they've got to sell their body to be something. But that's another whole story. I'm getting off on a tangent. But I want to talk about Candace Owens, okay? You guys, you saw the video of when I first tried to debate her. This is an open invitation to Candace Owens. I challenge you to a debate, and not just any debate. A moderated debate, one where you don't control the narrative and every claim gets fact-checked in real time. Because here's my honest assessment. Your intellectual capacity is the rhetorical equivalent of a programmed teleprompter. You are a con artist and a grifter, and you've been running the same hustle since 2008. And let's be clear, most of the debates you've appeared in weren't debates at all. They were you delivering low-grade opinions with high-grade conviction and calling it substance. So here's the offer. Let's link up for an online debate, moderated by someone we both agree on. The moderator supplies the questions. We don't get them ahead of time. 30 minutes, 3 minutes per answer, facts only. And the outcome is simple. Either you prove you have real intellectual standing, or you prove what many of us already believe, that you're a narcissistic drama machine who manufactures stories just to be the one brave enough to break them. I'm nobody in the grand scheme of things. This should be a walk in the park for you. So take the opportunity. Put the fact-checked sites on trial. Step into a setting you can't stage manage. Because right now, real conservatives like me don't see you as a truth teller. We see you as a blue playbook conservative, a leftist wearing red, and staining the image of conservatism with performance art disguised as journalism. And speaking of journalism, if you're calling yourself an investigative journalist, you might be the worst one to ever grace the screen because you haven't proven anything. I'm just a little Southern boy. I'm a nobody. You should be able to handle me, right? I'm here to tell you, you won't, you can't, and if you try, I will bury your narrative under verified reality. Here's my email. CanYouFaxMe@gmail.com. I'll even pay you. How much is 30 minutes of your time worth? Let me know. I'll wait. Offered her money. She ignored it. Okay. I had tagged her in it. I had linked it everywhere that I know she could see it, right? So in February, I think somewhere in that neighborhood, I did another one. Tagged her in it. Posted it on her profile. TikTok or X, TikTok, wherever I could find her. I wanted to make sure she could see it. Here is that video.
Why don't you respond to what I did? Why don't you respond to what I said? Why don't you go point from point? Why don't you sit down and debate me? If anybody would like to with the platform who makes videos about me.
Okay. Set it up. Set it up right now. I only have one condition. It has to be live. It has to be live so nothing can be edited after the fact. But I'll do it. I've been trying to get you to debate me for months. I've sent emails. I've made videos inviting you to debate. No response. So let's do it. For once, Candace, back up something you've actually said. For once, remain honest about something. You made an open invitation to debate, and I'm accepting it. My email is canyoufaxme@gmail.com. Show your fans and the world that you can sit on the other side of accusations and answer my questions live for everyone to see. Please, please, you've extended the invitation. I am accepting.
So you're all a bunch of frauds. You're all a bunch of frauds, and you dishonor Charlie Kirk every day while you pretend that you're honoring him by putting a bubble around his widow, who is not acting like a widow at all. Okay? What is she supposed to do? Like, cry every... Yeah, actually. Yeah, I do. You know what? I would be okay with somebody who cried every day for a bit after their husband died.
Candace is getting so desperate, Factivist. You can see it and you can hear it in every new video. She knows she has lost all credibility. Her numbers are tanking. Her husband is losing deals. That was recently in the news. Gone. People are turning away. Candace, you are not the authority on people. You do not decide how others are supposed to feel. You aren't anything of substance. You just aren't important. You make yourself important or look important with money. You're a joke, a liar, a grifter, and you have never actually ever accomplished anything on your own. You've always relied on rich white men to carry you to the top. And that is just pathetic, considering you're this strong, independent woman. Sure doesn't look like it. History tells a different story. But you will not win this debate with me. I'll go even further. After our debate, you won't even be viewed the same way by your liberal and leftist fan base. So bring it.
The full documentary, available now on Facebook.
Candace ignores that one too. What's a boy to do, right? So I double down, because isn't that what they do? They double down. Except the only difference is I double down with fact. So yesterday I started a campaign where I'm going to start calling her out publicly on every single post she makes in which she lies. Now on the screen, you can see my Facebook page. If you're not following me on Facebook, please do. It's facebook.com/canyoufactsme. And that's facts spelled F-A-C-T-S. Can you fax me? Not like the old school, 90s fax machine thing. Okay. Not to be confused with that. But you can see on there that 3 different posts she made on X alone yesterday were lies. Complete and total lies, trying to continue the grift, continue brainwashing her cult followers. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to post directly underneath it. I'm going to respond to every one of these with the truth so people can see the truth. And I did. And surprisingly, Candace didn't delete them. Not that. She didn't delete that. But surprisingly, she didn't delete them. So I took screenshots of them, posted them on my Facebook so you guys, my factivists, my friends, my supporters, could see This is what she said. That was the lie. This was the truth. And I did that 3 different times yesterday. 3 lies in one day from this woman. Again, with the Tyler Robinson crap. Then attacking Trump. I debunked all of that, guys. And I don't want to get into it here. I'm not going to read you these posts. Just if you want to jump on board with that, you can see all that on my Facebook page. Hell, you can go to Candace's ex, as long as she hasn't deleted them as of this moment, and you can read the stuff there. It is strictly up to you. But speaking of X, okay, you know, Candace does what Candace does. She lies, and she never lives up to her word, okay? I have been trying to debate her since December. And benefit of the doubt, in December, she had not extended that open invitation yet. You know, so that was just me saying, hey, I'm willing to pay you. I'm willing to pay you to debate. That's how confident I am that I will destroy you. Because I am aware I am engaging with someone operating at a deficit of both intellect and discipline. And that is an unfortunate combination, Candace, for you, right? So then she did her open invitation, which now she's saying she didn't do. Right? But as always, it's on video. You guys, I'm sure, remember this, right? She did a video where she flat out says, anybody who makes videos about me, anybody who thinks I'm wrong, blah, 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 you know, in her own words, I want to debate you. I answered it immediately, right? But as predicted, as you factivists predicted, as I've stated, she would never debate me because my platform's too small. She wants the attention, right? But I don't think that's so much it as she knows she'll lose. Because the debates that I could find of her, she gets destroyed. She just gets mad. And when you watch them, she diverts and deflects. Like, she knows she's lost this point, so she does what Democrats and leftists and liberals do. They deflect to something else that they can sound superior on. Does that make sense? So the audience watching thinks, oh, this person's smart, but they actually avoided the question itself. And you're going to see some of that today because I'm going to critique a debate that I found from Candace. And we're going to be doing that today. But she responded to me in a tweet last night, just before midnight. And it said, at S Lancaster X. That is me on X. S Lancaster X. She said with a little police car light thing, I do not owe a debate to every individual who builds a tiny insular following and then decides that qualifies them for national relevance. Wow. National relevance. You hear the ego in that? She's national, which she is. She's worldwide. We know this. So why speak the obvious? Right? I know it's national relevance, but you're just afraid to do it. You invited anybody that makes videos about you. This is your own word. And it isn't just me, guys. I have seen dozens of podcasters, commentators, all offer up and accept her invite. And she has not done one of them. Even bigger names like Graham Allen. That dude is awesome. Paramount Tactical, man. That dude is awesome. I have followed him forever. He's a big name. He's got a big platform. So for Candace to say my stage isn't big enough, you can't use that excuse when you won't debate Paramount Tactical, whose audience is huge. I could see it if it was nothing but small-time people, that excuse would work. It's feeble, it's a cop-out, but that excuse would work. But there are big names answering your invitation, and you still won't do it. Now, here's what's interesting, factivists. I'll read this tweet one more time. I do not owe a debate to every individual who builds a tiny, insular following and then decides that qualifies them for national relevance at SLancasterX. Oh, she got me, man. Well, here's the thing. Candace has a habit of deleting tweets. And when I got up this morning, I chagrined because the tweet was gone. But as a good fax me little boy here, I screenshot everything of Candace Owens. And for the record, I screenshot every threat from trolls. I screenshot every person who's supporting Candace Owens. So when all of this goes down with Candace, and you sheep that are following her have been complacent with her associating with pedophiles, sexual predators, rapists, helping her, threatening Erica Kirk, all this stuff. I've got it all. I've got it all. And that is going to make one great, big, large video when it's all said and done, putting you all on blast. That's what's going to happen. You don't get the weasel out of this one at all. Not when I have a platform where me and my factivists have been trying to help you and have been showing you the truth, and you still come underneath it and ignore it. That's on you. That is on you. So, Candace deleted this tweet. It pissed me off at first, but then I thought, you know what? Elon Musk has Grok on X, and if you aren't familiar with Grok, it's a chat. You can ask it anything, and it goes and it finds the factual information. Especially on X. It catalogs everything that happens on X. It will even explain to you what is being said in a post if you don't understand it. Like if it's something technical, you know, it'll lay it out for you. So I went to Grok and I took my screenshot, and that is what you're seeing on the screen at the very top. You're seeing the tweet that Candace made, you know, making fun of my small platform. And I attached that to Grok and I said, is that a deleted tweet from Candace Owens? Grok comes back. Yes, that's a real, now deleted tweet from Candace Owens. The screenshot shows a post from her verified account, Real Candace O, with the blue check mark and her standard profile picture, replying to me at SLancasterX. The exact text matches what she posted. I do not owe a debate to every individual who builds a tiny insular following and then decides that qualifies them for national relevance. It was posted about 9 hours before the screenshot based on the 9-hour timestamp, and the red siren emoji is also consistent with Candace. It says, why is it deleted? Sorry, I'm trying to read my notes here, guys. It says, why is it deleted? There's public discussion everywhere on X about her deleting this specific tweet, with some users questioning why she removed it. So other people saw it too. So it's not just me, which is great. And it goes on. You guys can read that whole screenshot if you want. I'm trying to look past my camera. Candace has deleted tweets before when they generate backlash. It just goes into the history of the fact that she does this all the time. So, with that being said, Candace is aware of who I am, and she is fully aware that I want to debate, and she is refusing to. So now that answers the question that many of you factivists have proposed. Does she even know? Has she responded to you? There you go. There it is. Lock and stock, guys. Now, next, what I'm going to do is I found this rather long debate of Candace Owens and all these other people. Now, what's interesting is these other people aren't on the political spectrum. They're not social commentators. They're not educated in this stuff in a sense. They don't do this for a living. Let me put it that way. Saying they're not educated isn't the right way to describe that. They are educated. Just they don't do what we do. Okay. Candace does, right? But she's going to go up against these people, and it's a lot of it's about feminism stuff. And I've pulled some select parts from this debate because the debate itself is like 90 minutes and we're not going to do that. So I have broke this down and I'm going to give you some commentary on it. We're going to watch this debate. I'm going to drop my thoughts as this thing goes along, and we'll go from there. But I want you guys in the comments to give your thoughts as this debate goes along to see if they match what I think, or maybe you guys caught on to something that I didn't, because I've already watched this. I've kind of already got in my head the points I'm going to make. So it's not really a reaction type thing. So I'm programmed as to what I'm already going to do, but you guys aren't. Many of you are going to be seeing this stuff for the first time. So drop that initial thought, because that's what matters. Always go with your first thought. That's always the best thing to do. Because if you don't, you end up doing what happens to me, and you suffer from what I like to call paralysis by analysis. You overanalyze things too much. That is me. I will have 10 different versions of a way I'm going to say something before I even remotely decide on one. And even then, it's a struggle. But let's check this debate out, guys. Commentary will be by me. I will be popping in and out of it as we go, stopping, starting it, all that good stuff. So let's check this out. This is Candace debating a bunch of women. And there's a couple guys. There's a couple guys that are thrown into the mix. And you will see the technique that I talked about earlier of her deflecting and taking the conversation in a different direction when it's not going in her favor. And you're going to hear some disturbing things too. Disturbing ways Candace says things. And we'll see if you pick up on that stuff too. I clearly am going to give you my opinion, but hopefully I'll try to stall a little bit on some of them. See if any of you guys drop that stuff in the comments before I say it. Just to see if we're all on the same page. But guys, let's jump to this debate and see just how Candace did. Again, this is whittled down from the 90-minute length, because we're just not going to do that. It's whittled down to relevancy. You're more than happy to go watch the entire thing yourself. That way you can confidently say nothing was taken out of context. I'll provide a link after this live in the description. So if you want to go watch the 90-minute full thing, do it, man. Context matters. But let's jump right in. Hey, my friends, this is Steven from FaxMe. Please check out The Factory. That's right, guys. Gen X fueled political and social commentary wrapped up in a t-shirt. That's faxmerch.com. FaxMerch.com. You can check out all of the t-shirts, all of the sweaters, mugs, tank tops, all kinds of cool things. Look, we've got shirts making fun of you-know-who. I know. Fake and Gay, #1 podcast. We've got evidence, not episodes. Fax me vibes, right? We've got I Am Free, American, Christian, and truthful. All kinds of cool stuff, guys. If you want to get a Fax Me shirt, you can get Fax Me stickers, coffee mugs, the whole 9 yards. Why? Because all facts matter. And don't forget, if you're straight, you can show that straight pride and let the left know that error is not oppression. So much to do. You can identify as I do, and that is non-binary. Always a good thing, my factivists. So check out the Fax Me apparel. This is the only place to get it, at The Factory. Faxmerch.com.
Women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this, then spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
So my question for you is, statistics show that 60% of women who are murdered by their intimate partners, murdered by someone that they are in close relations with. That's according to the UN from 2023.
Yeah.
So how is it that, women are so valued, quote unquote, in the home, and yet that's the place where they're at the most danger?
Okay, so I'm not sure what that has to do with the sexual revolution.
Right, the sexual revolution.
The first claim.
The sexual revolution gave.
I'm happy to answer it. I'm just saying that, if you broaden that statistic, you are more likely in general just to be murdered by somebody you know. So, of course.
But men are much less likely to be murdered by, their
That's not
partners.
true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure, because men are less likely to be murdered by women. Full stop. Exactly. So that statistic makes sense to me.
So right out the gate, the very first person she's debating, did you see what she did there? The woman calls her out and says that women are less likely to murder men. Candace says that's not true, and then immediately agrees because she knows it is true. So she tried to disagree, and then within that same breath, she agreed. Keep watching.
So you think that, just so I'm trying to understand your argument here, you think that if we didn't have the sexual revolution, less women or more women would be murdered? Are you saying that women are
more women would be murdered, for sure.
Okay. I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with the claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued women.
I think you'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. Okay.
And bam, this lady fires right back and shuts Candace down. Yeah, you'd probably be less happy if you were murdered. Candace got nothing.
That it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships, period, whether those relationships are homosexual, whether they're
married,
you're
saying that the sexual revolution.
Let me finish. I've let you try to explain how this is correlated to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely, it makes perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship, because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend, a husband and a wife, a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife. Yes, of course, the instances of domestic violence are going to take place when you're inside of a home.
So Candace's entire argument is that people who are in relationships are happier. But then, as this woman points out, that causes a rise in domestic violence. And then Candace agrees. Let's keep going.
But the sexual revolution, encouraging women to give up their goods for free.
Did she just give up their goods for free? What are you implying, Candace? That you should charge for sex? I mean, that's the only way I can interpret that. You give up the goods for free, that's implying that you shouldn't give it for free.
Which is what I'm speaking about, and encouraging men not to marry these women or to have long-term relationships. What I am saying is a direct contributor to their unhappiness because women are giving up their goods for free.
There, she said it again. That they're not going to find happiness because they're giving up sex for free. What are you saying, lady? That women should just be prostitutes?
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me.
This woman cannot recall things she says previously. As we've seen, and as I've noted, in many, many videos, she'll say something one day, and then the next day say something completely obvious. That is completely different, right? She just did that right here in a matter of seconds. She just said that this was coming from her. This was how she felt. And then she turns around and says, it's not coming from her. What?
according to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free.
That's the third time. That is the third time Candace has said women are offering sex for free. Are you guys getting this? 3 times so far into this debate, she has implied that women should not be offering up sex for free. Are you with me?
Because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So,
yes. So
men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay, so you're saying
not work.
In all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. So you're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right? And we see that they also have been the most open in regards to like, sexual norms and sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution.
This young woman is completely destroying Candace with what? Say it with me, kids. Facts. What have I always said? If you only speak the truth, you'll never lose. That's a concept Candace can't grasp. That's why she has to change her story every single day, because she keeps losing. This woman is delivering fact after fact. You can clearly see this woman has way more intelligence than Candace does. Because Candace, you know what I'm saying? Deflect. Let's keep going.
Right. So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America. In these countries that are more sexually open, why would we see like those rates in those type of countries?
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers. No. Okay. Well, there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be there's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognize that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud.
So right there is a primary example of what Candace does. She deflects. She says you must be talking about this study that was later exposed to be fraudulent. And the girl even says that's not what I'm talking about. But Candace doubles down on it to make it sound like she knows something. To make it sound like this is her win against this woman, even though the woman clarified that's not what I'm talking about. But Candace continues on with it.
And they were unable to reproduce these studies, and they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Okay, well, how can we, let's measure, then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we measure happiness? So I would say suicide rates would be a good thing to look at. Drug, alcohol consumption would be a good thing to look at. Of course, right?
But we would have to, I can say at this point in society, I don't think everyone is happy. I think there's a lot of things that we need to reconcile in society.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right,
so
but we have to look at the cause, right? Why are these things predicted, right? And for example, if we talk about men, there are a lot of things we can look at, right? That tend to predetermine suicide, right? But we can't say, oh, these two things are happening at the same time. This caused this other thing.
Yes, that's right. But I do think that we can objectively say that women who are committing suicide rates more than they were in the 1950s.
Women who are committing suicide rates. How does one commit a suicide rate? I mean, you can perform the act of taking one's life, but how does she even realize what she just said?
Like it has actually increased marginally. That's not a sign that us entering the workforce.
And if you note the fact check, they fact check Candace live here. The suicide rate hasn't changed since her reference point. She's referencing the 50s. And fact check says, well, it hasn't changed. So
suddenly made us
how
all
is
very
it
happy.
A cause of the workforce?
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate.
How's this cause of
opioids at a higher rate?
How is this a cause of entering
because
the
I
workforce?
think women are being put on a pathway aspirationally.
But you're going to have to. You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause? Like you're not substantiating the claim.
So when we're talking about the value of women on a societal scale and how we view each other, right? When you're devaluing us, you're objectifying us. And follow me, I promise. But rape rates have gone down by about half in the last 20 years, right? So if you're saying we're less valuable now, why wouldn't we be suffering at a higher rate?
So is the argument that you're making, just so I understand, that because women are giving up sex for free?
What is Candace's obsession with women giving up sex for free? What are you supposed to use? PayPal?
They're not being raped?
Every study shows rape is not correlated with just sexual gratification. It is a power structure.
Okay.
So it is about objectifying and abusing women when you rape them, not about whether or not you want sex. What I am saying is that women are less objectified, so therefore we are being raped less.
Okay, so you think that in today's society, because this is pretty wild for me. In the 1950s, you're saying women were more objectified than today in the land of OnlyFans, the Kardashian clan, and women that are essentially putting up their boobs and butts for free on Instagram.
Again, they're putting up their boobs and butts for free. But Candace, you just mentioned OnlyFans. OnlyFans isn't free. These women make millions of dollars on OnlyFans. So you kind of contradicted yourself in the same sentence again. And fact of the matter is your comparisons are moot. It's a moot point. What she is talking about, what your opponent is talking about, is back in the 50s, women were being controlled by men. They didn't have a say in stuff. They didn't have the freedom to go do whatever they wanted. The comparison that you're making, Candace, these women are free to do this, and they're willingly doing it. They are getting on Instagram and showing their tits and their butts and whatever. They are going on OnlyFans. They are doing this of their own volition. So how can you compare the two? How can you compare the freedom to do it back to the 1950s when they couldn't?
You're saying we finally have achieved less objectification, where women can't even get onto an advertising. You can't even advertise a bag without them having to be naked in order for them to get a career as a model. You're saying, oh, great, we've achieved actually less objectification.
So I'm not trying to suggest that I think that the over-commodification of women's bodies is positive. But what I am saying is that when you're going to the 1950s, that we shouldn't put this glazed look of, oh, it was so happy. We had single income households and we got to stay home. We also had a pill popping problem. We also were viewed as maids. Like, we were seen as a house appliance far more than we were as people.
That young lady is absolutely correct. Women were viewed as a fixture at home in the 50s. These women were miserable. They were essentially slaves. Why is Candace trying to say women were happier in the 50s with less rights? That makes no sense.
And so when you have that kind of objectification where you are in a subservient position, I think we're facing a different form today. But I think that rape is a signifier of a contradiction to your statement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but I do want to rebut it on a couple of points. So first, I just want to say, suggesting that objectification has gone downward since the 1950s is wild. That's just a firm no. That is not the truth, and you know that's not true.
Wait, so do you feel like
hold on, let me answer your second thing.
Okay.
Second thing, you then brought up, okay, women were at home, but they were pill popping. Well, you then have to acknowledge we're actually popping more pills now, right? So we have actually increased our amount of pill popping. Women are having overdoses on opioids. And on top of that, since I think 1999, by rate, we are increasing our opioid use compared to men.
But again, Candace, you are leaving out vital variables in your comparison. In the 1950s, we didn't have a inkling of the medication we have now. We didn't have the doctor visits and the Medicaid and Medicare and all this stuff that people can use. All of this stuff is more accessible now, which of course is going to raise the usage bar. You can't compare that to a time period that didn't have that.
So women are not popping pills less because we're going into the workforce. That's actually not true at all either. We're also, like I said to you, consuming alcohol more and binge drinking more than we did in the 1950s, which is why I was trying to get her to say, we need to look at actually give me any reasonable metric of how we can define happiness. Because it's hard, right? Are you happy? Yes or no?
Sure, but wait, hold on. We're actually avoiding what my original point was about rape being the signifier.
So this young lady calls Candace out and says, you're deflecting. Pretty much, you're not addressing my point. And then they cut this woman off and move on to the next woman. So put two and two together there.
I am fascinated by your claim that women have lost happiness since the sexual revolution, since the 1950s. Do you think that there is any tie to happiness and freedom? And happiness and choice. Because since 1950s, since the sexual revolution, women have gotten exponentially more freedom and more choice. And for me, as a mother and as a woman, having the freedom to choose what I do, to make my own destiny, makes me infinitely more happy than, say, back before the sexual revolution when I couldn't get a bank account, couldn't get a home loan, couldn't work outside the home, couldn't travel around without a man, couldn't control my own reproduction. So I feel that happiness, personally, my belief, is tied to our ability to have freedom. And I think that in the United States, protecting freedom and our individual freedoms is what's going to lead us to happiness.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Did you?
Yes, I did. So you have a degree.
Did you catch that one? Did you catch that one? Did you go to college? Yeah, did you? Yes, I did. Candace, you went, but you left off the part where you dropped out. You don't have a degree. You don't even have a high school diploma. You got your GED from home. So you're going to ask this woman if she's went to college when you dropped out and then sit there and lie and say you went, but left out that important part that you did.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear May Kinnon. Happy birthday to you.
You are watching Facts Me TV. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.
Like, hype, subscribe.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Facts Me TV. Here we are, Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. As I mentioned yesterday, man, the summer, we're like halfway over. And I couldn't be happier. I am a fall guy. Wait, I'm not a fall guy. I like the fall. How about that? Don't need to be a patsy, as they say. But guys, got a bang up show today. A lot of it Candace Owens oriented, a lot of it ballistics oriented. But it all stems from Candace Owens. We're going to be breaking down the 6 obvious and major lies from her episode yesterday. We're also going to be taking a deep look at when she thinks she has an expert. But you know, an expert on apples doesn't know jack about oranges.